I made this first time biotechnology Riga Biotech Europe. So for those who don't know me, my name is Riga Biotech. I'm a technology entrepreneur. Probably under this hat is mostly known for me. And for today's agenda, we will go through some small history and background of Meetup groups. So I tell you about why I decided to start this group. Then we have personal introductions. Probably you don't know each other very well. Then we have for today one speaker, which will be Tom, and he will tell about accelerator experience over last 2 years. Yeah. Okay. And then probably what the reason why I'm looking for the crowd is technology of largest ecosystem players here in Latvia. Probably I don't know everybody here, and that's why I'm trying to start build this ecosystem and people who is familiar with this medical, life science, and other ecosystem parts in Latvia. Then we have featured startup section. It's a template for every meetup group we made. So we're looking for startups who is developing something for Latvia. In Latvia, I mean, the main goal of whole meetup groups is just to try to turn our thinking from technology consumption to technology creation, because we a lot of efforts making to teach young people to use the technologies in different ways. So we are trying to make this mindset a little bit otherwise and try to see the creation here. And then announcements, it's a framework for every startup where everybody could stand out and tell everybody about topics. And yeah, so we could go quickly through the personal introduction because we were not very lot fast here today. So starting from you, who am I, what I'm doing, and what is my biotech, life science, and healthcare probably experience in broader sense.
My name is Tom Schmidt. I am currently involved about 60% of my time in working on bringing companies into a regional life sciences accelerator called Accelerates. And we have had 2 teams so far go through a process, and we're working currently with 5 or 6 companies that we're trying to fit. My own experience, my bachelor's degree is in biochemistry, and then I went and got an MBA for reasons that I'm not sure about anymore. And I did research for something close to 10 years in pediatric cardiology, in pediatric cardioprotection, a little bit of oncology, and the tiniest bit of pancreatic cell transplantation, which is this much.
Okay.
So my name is Jan Slivniš. I am very, very near to my doctoral thesis completion. So
what's helping the team?
So the team is yeast biotechnology and microbiology.
Okay.
And I have been working with yeasts for 10 years or so. And I have been involved also in some biotech company related with milk, dairy product, how you call it? Dairy product make fermentation into yeast biomass or ethanol. And also I have been working a little bit with cardiology and microbiota. And yeah, that's my background.
Yeah.
Raimond Sīmanis. I'm a medical doctor by background, but moved to pharmaceutical industry very early, and actually I started to sell biotech products here in Latvia from Swiss company Hoffmann La Roche, so I was involved in selling activity. Actually I sold first monoclonal antibody therapeutic in Europe here, before registration, Bactera. So since then I'm still selling different bio drugs, and we have even an organization, Biopharmaceutical Manufacturers Association, And these are pharmaceutical companies. But in addition, I'm in university in infectious disease, now approaching assistant professor, whatever it will be, and I did my PhD on hemophilia, hepatitis C. So basically I'm always only dealing with these things, but not creation any technologies.
Okay. Now you're writing a book.
Yes, that is, I'm writing a book together with German professor, one of the very good immunologists, and the global book, and we will make series of books starting from the book for lay people, for the general population, and up to some books, some level to the researchers, advices to researchers.
Okay. About immunology.
Yes, and around this, around that very complex topic, and as Einstein was told, that if you cannot explain very complex topic in simple words, you do not understand that topic by yourself. So basically what we do, we try to very complex topics to put
Simple words.
In simple words and in simple information technologies, using information technologies that are available now, all those devices.
So your idea to build an application for use these book terms.
Exactly, yes, to help it, to both products complement each other.
Okay, what about you?
So I'm Janis. What I'm doing, I'm not doing anything related to biotech. I'm with computers, with IT, with websites and design and advertisement. But I'm looking for new business ideas, and I thought that I knew what is biotech, but now it sounds like it's something a little bit different. But I thought it's I'm writing a few business plans, but I'm always looking for new business ideas. So what I thought of biotech is that it is some kind of possibilities that you can mix some two different things, and they will grow in different ways.
Right.
So you can also look at the Google what biotech is.
It's
And I have been to one not seminar, but learning about business with natural things.
okay. And you're still studying now? You're studying now? Somewhere?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm working for IT.
Okay, good. Yeah, so getting closer to the background why I decided to start this. So I'm influenced very much from Silicon Valley, this ecosystem over the past few years. And last time I was in spring this year, and I spent considerable time there. And there's several things I learned. And one is the term exponential technologies. This is probably you have heard of a Singularity University, somewhere in the middle of Silicon Valley in this NASA Moses field. And I have been there in the pitch, started pitch some competition once a time in the springtime, and learned that there's a huge part of startups are doing this biotechnology things, and largely partly with genomics, with in different some stages, starting from mobile phone applications, and the most exciting project was this genetic some kind of portal startup project where you could easily mix and match DNAs and build by yourself some sort of creature and send back to the lab and just print it out. Let's say it was I was impressed very much, and I think that this is very valuable exponential technologies which should be somehow developed here in Latvia. And after getting back, I decided that our ecosystem is very different in very ways. there's no visible part of some new exponential technology, some kind of domains where we could find one place all kind of people who is very enthusiastic about it. And getting back, decided to create some meetup groups. Altogether, today they are together 8, and we are formed Latvia Technology Entrepreneurship Meetup Network with support from Microsoft, NVIDIA, Udacity, and LGA, representing Riga Biotech University Foundation, and we are caring about entrepreneurship and technology education in a very practical way. So we decided to create those groups. Biotechnology Meetup is just one of them. The largest until now is UI UX Riga Meetup group, which will be next meetup will be here in next morning. So we almost 100 designers who is make design UI and user experience design. So if you look, if you want to talk with some designer and sell your idea, or look for some partners in your project, probably you could find one place here, on Monday. I hope there's a couple of 20, 30 people will be there. Riga Drone Meetup is kick-off meetup for droners and flying vehicles. Then we have this mobile app developer meetup. Riga Startup Idea to IPO. This is so-called Find Your Co-founder format meetup. Next will be December 18. This is very early stage idea pitching session. I mean, it's not we're not looking for startups who is pitching for investors. We're looking for the guys with idea or with passion to create something, and they lack some part of team to build a product, and so they pitch 5 minutes their idea and what they're looking for, and probably in the crowd there's some kind of co-founders who should like to join the team. So, and this we held here December 18 this month. All those meetups are monthly, let's say, scheduled in January and December too. And then we have CUDA parallel programming and gaming meetup group, where we're caring about things like parallel programming, machine learning, computer vision, other stuff. And then we have 3D printing Riga meetup. There's a huge crowd of Latvian 3D printing ecosystem. Probably you know part of them. So at least we have Latvia made 3D printers, Mass Portal, and other guys who is making them. I was actually very impressed about how big this crowd is in Latvia, because before that, before doing those meetups, we didn't assume how much this community here is. And last but not least is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies meetup, where we building some kind of ecosystem around this new financial system development. And one of the ideas how to this biotechnology, and everything is related by the health startups, seems for me very exponential technologies. So it means those who are developing very fast, and we nationally by our ecosystem could jump in this very early stages and try to build a considerable footprint for those startups who are going to this new directions. And that's I think that I got feelings that we should do something to create this ecosystem here. And first thing that came into my mind is start doing meetups and find out what is doing what, and probably to get people together and find where they're sitting, or in research institutes, in universities, in pharmaceutical companies, I don't know, or the students. I don't even know, because one freaky case is that one biotechnology case came out in a 3D printing meetup, because one of the girls who is going to the Open University incubator for the 3D printing lab is printing out the palm of prosthetic palm for her, because he can buy affordable price, very high quality prosthetic hand, let's say. And she's doing that. She's modeling by herself this thing and printing out to look more naturally. So it's very unusual ways how those ecosystems bring together, and how those cases popping out. And I'm hardly looking for the term how to call this meetup, because biotechnology and bioengineering, it's by definition, it's probably one part of the whole this life science part. And now I'm just trying for myself to understand how wide we could define this group in order not to make it very narrow. Because if you make it too narrow, for example, at very beginning we decided that we need to make this iOS application developer meetup, but this only for Apple operation system developers. But they're just 20% from whole application developer network here. So we decided the group will be very small, so we made a mobile app developer meetup group, which consists from iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. So in this case too, I'm just looking around how narrow or how wide we could make this meetup group in order to make critical mass for participants, and in order to share their knowledge. And meetups, this meetup culture is coming from me from Silicon Valley, because I understand that those meetups are attended by the very enthusiastic people. They're not paid to go into the meetups. They're looking for the same enthusiasm as they are, to exchange their projects, things, and community, network, and if this network, this meetup network is larger and reaching some kind of critical mass, this ecosystem is getting more and more viable and self-sustainable. So that's why I'm just struggling with myself with what would be right definition of this meetup group. And there is some kind of buzzword which actually is very often heard in startup press and something like that. There's a big names, life science, which is very huge topic. I don't know if it's not too broad for this kind of meetup. Then there's a bioengineering, which is health startups is a buzzword for very emerging some kind of startup group in whole world. Because, for example, there's a lot of health startup competition, not only in Europe but in Silicon Valley. And I would like to at least sometime to have some kind of Latvian startup in this category fitted in there. I don't know definition of what is a health startup. Is guys just made an iPhone app for a gym, or they doing some kind of genomics, some hard research and hardware research? I don't know. So this is just struggling around what is going on here and what to develop. Genetics, biological engineering, do-it-yourself biology. There's another some kind of buzzword is appearing, and I'm trying to find out what is the classification for that. And this is classification. I started from AngelList, which is a platform for startups, and this is how the structure is made. So they think that life science is like a category of parent category and children category from life science, biotechnology, medical, neuroscience, pharmaceutical, synthetic biology, therapeutics, and for biotechnology, under the biotechnology only one thing is bioinformatics. So I don't know if we are talking about meetups about this thing. What is going on about that? Is there some kind of different interest groups, or we could bring them together and call the meetup like life science? I don't know. So probably we could think about it together. So this is kind of list of startups which I found out in this AngelList platform. So as you say, there's a lot of buzzwords like robotic cloud laboratory, genome DNA analysis, cloud-based whole genome analysis, something like that. Data platform for medicine is actually a software platform. It's just a cloud platform based somewhere. And this is all kind of those startups are going under this bioengineering category. And yeah, so probably this for me it works. It's appropriate size. I mean, it's not too narrow, not too broad. But probably in Latvia we need to adjust this classification of what we're looking for in bring together. So at this point, probably, what's your feeling about that? Yeah, how about classification and about ecosystem here in Latvia? So what we have from those kind of categories, and maybe starting from Utah.
We have some of almost everything. Actually, I would, of everything you showed, I would say the only thing that doesn't belong in kind of something like this is pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals is such a long development cycle.
Okay, so this wall lines, those all kind of things and drugs which develop in Latvia.
But the companies themselves are a little bit different animals.
Yeah, that's different part. That's why.
Well, but what I mean is that the companies themselves are engaged in some other things. And then also, I mean, you have, okay, the long and short of it is, to me, we have a little bit of everything that you put up on there. I mean, I can think of companies and projects in almost every category there. And
could you name them?
Do
you have some kind of list or database? Or?
No, there is no database.
Of course.
Well, I mean, as far as I know. I mean, the companies that we're working with right now are, we have people in bioceramics, so people from Riga Technical University who are engaged in making, to be simple about it, artificial bone, and it's used, used variously. We have this company that we're working with, they're actually from Tallinn, but have some presence here. They're working in a three-dimensional nanoparticle scaffold for tissue culture, cell culture. That would definitely be biotech. We're working with a company that has a new ultrasound tool for bone scanning, so that's primarily around osteoporosis.
But it's all those startups are going around under the biotechnology name, biotechnology.
Sure. And then actually,
it's explanatory enough. So
yeah.
For those.
And then in Leopold, there's a company that does natural cosmetics. And that would certainly, to us, would fall within the category of life sciences. We've had this conversation when we were starting our cooperation with the Danes and the Estonians. The question was, what do we include within a life sciences accelerator?
Yeah.
And as long as you can show that there's some biology or there's some medicine associated, then it's okay.
Okay. So, and if somebody is developing, I don't know, education application for medicine, let's say.
We definitely consider it within.
Yeah.
Yeah. Within,
Okay.
Well,
so it's quite a broad definition of those.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and it overlaps a lot of different areas too. In apps, so we're overlapping and going into IT. And then very little. I mean, we're working with a company from Estonia that has what's called a phantom kidney, and to me, the most interesting part of what they're doing is not the hardware, but the software that's associated with the training. So, it's the IT overlapping with medical training. Interesting.
Okay.
As far as it is, as you said, it's a very fragmented ecosystem. There's no question about that. I mean, you have ELU that has a lot of things in this area, microbiology. Then RSU also they have a lot of stuff in, these milk product kinds of things. They do a lot of work there. There's actually two spin-outs from RSU from that area. They have natural pharmaceuticals that have come out of RSU.
And how they came out from RSU? There's
That's
a
a
business
good
incubator or what?
They have a technology transfer office over there, and I would definitely.
And it's working.
Well, it does work, and it's still working, unlike every other, because they've continued supporting. RSU is a strong component of this kind of an ecosystem. The University of Latvia is definitely.
So next time we should ask those guys to come here and talk about what they have accomplished last couple of months.
And then there's also the Biomedical Research and Study Center in, I don't remember what it is. Yeah. Well, it's not anymore, but actually they're thinking about going back into ELU. But they're into a lot of diagnostics and using antibodies and stuff, and they came close to actually spinning out a project. You know, who's this guy who's on Tele3 Festival?
Sternberg.
Yeah, he has a company. Diagnostics.
Generic.
Generic.
Testing for paternity.
But they're consuming technology.
He could talk here.
Yeah, theoretically,
He could
Yeah,
talk.
but actually, is there some kind of innovation for them, or are they just buying from, I know, Germany, those testing equipment and just
I
making
think they developed themselves some.
They developed some technology.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So it means that in this field in Latvia, there's a lot of things happening.
Absolutely.
So
It's happening, but the problem is that they could not get to the big global product somehow. A recent story about this oncology drug who was really developed here in labs, and now the drug is registered in US. But drug was developed but the all money came from UK. So basically all proprietary rights went 100% to UK, not to US, and that's it. And our scientists just get some diploma.
That is my classmate's father.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of sad stories.
Well,
That's
yeah,
true, but but what's lacking from our perspective is what's lacking is a really strong commercialization
Yes.
process.
And not to lose ideas very early. I think I started with my pharmaceutical in Swiss in 94 already. So, because I started this from zero, and one of my tasks was to fish for ideas and then to deliver to the Swiss. And really it was so easy. I did not do probably some black thing then, but invitation to restaurant, open the scientist completely. After a third glass of wine, you just can write down all the story, you know. And I think that happened. I was not professional. Can you imagine with professional information hunters? I think we lost a lot, because those guys, those creative guys, they like to talk. They sell to you immediately the bright idea without thinking about it.
I'll turn that around. I got to say that one of our experiences, my experience in this, is that the scientists from their side have a very high expectation of what's possible, and it takes a lot more work than people think to do that. And so, it's up there, and we're modeled after some of the best processes. So.
And one of the key things here is if we want to do something to stay in Latvia to some later stages, really to care about this, the ecosystem would be closed until product is developed to the good
I
size.
was thinking how this biotechnology and medical domain is different from any other technology, some kind of direction, because in startup world there's all about open innovation. Let's say if you can't, it's not about your idea, but the execution is very difficult part. So in the startup world, there's no care about that somebody could steal your idea, because if your ideas could be very easily stolen, so it's no viable reason how you could develop that. And it means this medical.
Sorry, can you repeat it once more time? This last sentence about stealing ideas and viable ideas.
If it's, the idea is so easy, could be stolen. So it's not. It's how to say. It's not could be.
So if it's very simple idea, then many people can grasp it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a story of startups. Who is the first? Then this guy.
Actually, the rule of game that you need to execute your idea. Let's say, because if you there's example of Edison and Tesla. Tesla is who is made a lot of things. Edison who is turn them to the business part. And this is the same as this one that we could combine the idea with execution part. That it's all about execution somehow.
Okay.
If in the pharmaceutical industry, for example, the whole power is in big companies, let's say, who easily could have resources for the research and development and could just steal your idea and develop everything.
Yes.
So, but Silicon Valley, let's say, the same fight is with Google, because there's startups who is generating the idea, and Google Ventures who's trying to listen to the presentation and then have a nice idea, go to Stanford University and say, okay guys, could you code this way? And of course, technically it's possible. And the idea is stolen, so they're looking more for teams, not for ideas. Teams for people, so who have brains and other stuff, and could not just only develop this idea, but could bring it further. This is the main, I think, problem.
I mean, we absolutely believe in the importance of teams. I mean, we really do believe
Sure.
it. On the other hand, I mean, pharmaceuticals is a different world because development times are very long, very
Yeah.
expensive. Certifications are, incredibly important. But it's also true of other technologies. I mean, the bone scanner that we're developing, the certification process itself is around 3 years. And if you haven't protected yourself, guess what? There's somebody else who's developing the same technology. In fact, we already know it's being developed. So what it then comes back to is executing, but into the correct market. We've chosen a smaller market to put our technology into than the big one. They're going to go for this mass market of osteoporosis. We're going to go to the smaller market of children's nutritional problems, and so we're going to focus on something smaller and then go into the bigger market because we have time.
Is there practice in this industry to make them looking for strategic investors for startups? I mean, if you're strategic investors for pharmaceutical companies, then you in an agreement you could agree on what terms of cooperation. It's not they could not just steal you, but they pay your research and development and paying mostly for a theme, which is actually operating here.
Yeah, there are foundations that operate in this domain that will do that as sort of a strategic investor. And there's also some of the big companies like Johnson & Johnson, et cetera. They look for very early stage things to invest in as strategic investors that they're going to go into. But the investors in this area there's not as many as there are in, for example, IT, real estate, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the thing is that if you have to find there's difficulty in matching ideas to investors because, I mean, in any investment world, people don't invest in things they're not familiar with or they don't understand.
Who's from Latvia's side for all those 4 funds, 5 funds? Who's kind of experience with Biotech?
The closest you can come is Premature. They haven't invested. They invested in commercialization reactor product down the.
Sorry, first one.
His son, Anton. Anton Adamovich is, but that's an interesting story there. But yeah, they're the only ones because they have expertise from outside. We've taken cases to the 3 newer funds, and what you hear is we don't know how to evaluate it. So what happens is that we met people who are opening a new fund in Switzerland, and there's actually an Estonian woman who's one of the leads, and so we have good contact with her. And then there was a guy who actually did a seminar for IGA, Christian Snyder. We developed a relationship with him, and both of those companies, those funds, are interested in very early stage investments.
And so, what you consider if the Latvian startup, biotechnology startup was one of those to whom they would really should go to?
The best, actually, it's strange. The best, I would say, depending on if they're very early, then they should be thinking about oddly enough, or Premature. But I think that's pre-seed is close.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But the nearest one in Estonia, and what is it? Who could bring smart money? Let's say with experience and other stuff. Just
well,
not
I mean, if
only
you're going to
one.
move someplace, I would move to technical.
They have a lot of biotechnology, some kind of startups.
Not a lot, but I mean, given everything, they have more than we do. but that's because they've been focusing on it.
Okay. Pretty much information from you guys. So yeah, it's parts just presenting as we have in every meeting group. So featured events. So we're covering last month's featured events, which is not actually empty because I didn't have information to gather around. So for next meetup, which will be held in middle of January, so probably just bring me some kind of feedback if your industry more than me, because I'm like outsider from that and from business part, startup part. I'm not very in this life science business inside. Important company is still also empty, where we would like for newcomers for the group to show up what is going on here in the ecosystem, and most notable companies show up and tell what they're doing.
There is a group of companies clustered around biotechnology and bioengineering called so-called Center of Competence. There are seven centers of competence, which are virtual stuff.
Yeah.
However,
But they're quite notorious, I think.
What is notorious? Companies or
Virtualization, because there's almost every office is empty and there's no success stories coming out. So
what do you mean by success stories? So the point is that these hubs make kind of scientists meet companies, and companies can order certain projects or certain research which should be done by European money. And these hubs are gathered around certain topics. So one hub is really related to this biotechnology topic, and you can find Greendex, Biosan.
Those are big companies.
Yes, and they are ordering some research from research.
Who is running this? Do you know the people who is operating? Who is responsible?
Yeah, like Juris Manax, like somebody else. Yeah.
So we could ask guys to come out
They
and
can
speak.
absolutely speak what they have done, or what are the at least 3 or 4 success stories of how.
I would be glad to hear at least
How,
because
I would love if you responded to open to answer a phone call.
Sorry?
I would love if you would answer a phone call or an email. I have a difficult time getting a hold of them to talk to them because we've been trying to get them.
Yeah.
Juris Manax is kind of, I think it's, after a moment it could be like here and there and everywhere. He is not located in Riga very often, that's correct. However, he has nice company which is building fermenters and bioengineering stuff. So really huge, massive stuff, a pot where you can ferment things.
Okay.
We have several pots from them, and we are fermenting dairy.
And this guy is working for a company or some company or he's...
What's the company? It's Biosan, yeah?
There are two. Biosan is another story. Juris Manax is working at Center of Biotechnology.
Yeah.
So could somebody help me with contact? Or...
I can just send you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Center of Biotechnology, and there's also...
Juris Manax. www.kc Vides, biotechnologies un bioengineerijas competence.
But those competence centers still alive with funding or they closed?
Yes, and they will continue for the next 6 years.
Oh, okay.
I've seen some good, I've edited some papers based on research from those, and the research is really high quality, there's no question about that.
Research
From some of the competency centers. There were some people that I worked with who were working in a cosmetics area actually. They had research that was done through one of the competency centers. It was really good, high quality stuff. So there is the Biotechnology Association or Center, I forget.
Yes, there is another topic or
Yeah.
another part of the story. It's associations.
Yeah.
Like yes, and there is association for biotechnology, but I don't know how active are they.
Yeah,
in fact.
they're quite inactive. They're Their website, the last thing that was there was a newsletter from 2011. I just happened to have been looking at it.
Yeah.
the other day. And then down the street, I think at San Zimmerberg, Vauris, who used to be head of Greendex, what's his name? This big Vauris by Valens.
Skrivos.
Yes, Skrivos, yeah. He has a cluster.
Yeah, now will be the PET. It's very close. Is this the radiation diagnostics? PET.
Yeah, I forget about him too, yeah. But down the street, there's a thing that's technically a biotechnology or I forget, this bio something cluster. So there is a cluster, but this cluster is dominated by Greendex, Warline, and I forget who else.
And how they could fit in this startup culture and innovation, so how they could be considered as an strategic investor for new products, or
It depends on what the product is.
from
I think there are existing players already
yeah.
who are ordering some investigations or research and development which are made by scientists, but maybe we can suspect some spin-offs from them.
Yeah, that's.
But I don't know. It depends from each particular company or cluster of companies whether new like a bugs or features will appear.
So how would we reach them to come here and speak about it, or just network, or because I think those guys are mostly closed and introvert, not very open. So is there some kind of contacts? You have one. So my idea is just to make some kind of long email list and drop them out and ask them to come and speak and communicate.
Yeah.
But don't forget, I mean, you also over at RTU has Biomaterials Research Center. And the Biomaterials Research Center has potential. They had patents. And there's actually a company, Janis Luic has a company that makes bioceramics using patents that are owned by him and RTU. So that center is very good, and also RTU itself, of course, through Oscars. And
You have a wide knowledge of local ecosystems.
And then there is some more people related to biotech, but right now I think they are not formed as a company, but maybe some spin-off will appear at some moment if money will appear related with stem cell production and stem cell usage for cardiovascular diseases. A lady who was supposed to come here right now because she is doing transplantation, Ines Chapstinia could tell more.
is this from RSU?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting piece of work.
Wow. We get a lot of going on.
They have a really novel process for. I tried to do that 30 years ago.
So next.
They tried to do, I think, on pancreatic cells, but then they turned it away from it. It was too tedious.
And there's no reason.
And so next challenge is to ask some speakers to come around and don't be shy and speak out about what they're doing, because this is the second problem. The people who is doing you sometimes can speak and talk about what they're doing. So if we have at least one, let's say optimal for meetups, 2 speakers, so for next time, who is got interesting content and topics, so we could promote this event a little bit more effective. Because at this time we for example, we try to reach a different part of societies, let's say students and enthusiastic guys on one side. So we decided to deal with Kristaps Kutels, who is running the blog for use, like cursors.lv, and got a lot of followers on Twitter to spread out the news. And we need to package this content in quite attractive form. It means if you go too deeply in technology terms, so probably you will have very specific, some kind of specialist crowd here. But our vision is we need to bring a lot of parts and make them work together somehow. So yeah, that's the point. If you have suggestions for next meetup for a couple of speakers, so we get 1 month ahead to ask them and to appear here and speak out. Okay, so this is this was your remark about important companies. So could we have a list for next time, at least the main players in Latvian ecosystem from biotech, except of course largest we all know, this is the Woline Farm, Greendex, and probably there's more important companies who is not very well known, but who is very big and probably not very popular. I don't know.
Do you know Riga?
No.
Okay, so this is one old scientist long time ago made research to cure cancer,
Yeah.
and it's for free only for Latvians, and other people can come and
No, not
be
for
allocated.
free. No, but
It's
no,
for
the
half year.
grants or not for free, reimbursed.
Ah, okay.
It's in a way state reimburses treatment. But this is some grants, and I know them because they invited me to.
Is it only just project or company or drug?
It's company already. It's virus. It is a virus which actually reaches some cells and then in a way kills. But the problem is that it is not proven. It's not really evidence-based. So what they need, and they would come here, and they would very eagerly to tell, and because they need, in a way, next jump to find some people, investors, who would do this, in a way, some evidence-based studies with this, and that would be a reason for some countries to register this product, because it's registered only in Latvia.
I think they're registered also in former USSR.
And former, some Russians they selling something, but this is not serious product for Westerners. And because in Australia, everywhere already people making viruses that in fact sells. In Germany, I was bridging them together with Germany. But Germans say they use their own viruses, already much more advanced viruses.
Wait, people making viruses?
Yeah, virus, it's cultivated virus.
Okay.
On some
Controlled
tissue,
viruses.
and this virus is then injected in a human, and this virus in a way goes to the very special cells, but they a lot of crap in it. And I did not still that this professor, she was okay in the 50s and 60s, but they lack evidence-based studies for that, and that's why they cannot sell, and this is a big bottleneck for them. And if you solve this problem for them, bridging with some investors, with some people, that would be for Latvia a great thing.
Okay, so at least they need to come out and speak about it.
But
Yes.
they are already selling it, they are exporting and...
No, not exporting.
What's your
clients
Clients coming, some Arabs, some desperate rich Russians, whatever Arabs are coming here. But this is, I'm supporter of evidence-based medicine. I'm not allowing this to inject in my relatives. And sorry, this is, and there are no, they say one patient survived, the other patient died, and that's the data they have. That's the data they have, and this is, they need quantum leap with this product, if it is possible at all to do it, because probably virus is unique, so not so hard.
You know, what you're already suggesting is something that would make it very difficult, which it sounds like the people are difficult to coach, very difficult to, because it seems like they're probably, like you've been working with them. My experience, very small experience with this, is that there are scientists who don't want to listen to the business side of it. And it's and business is also about evidence too. Because when you say to people, look, and the guys that we're working with are ultrasound, until we have them talk to a whole bunch of people in the medical community and understand where their stuff was valuable and wasn't, their set of assumptions about everything were so high in the sky that it was impossible for us to talk.
Yeah.
So you had to bring that expectation to the ground.
Exactly, and then they invited me. I said, if I try to bring you to Germany, if I bring you and open this whole new branch of sales, even, I take 50% of that. She said, no. We just pay to you 1,000 or 2,000 and for your job, you know. I said bye. So I don't have time for that. But to invite those people, they are really. If you look for people eager about what they do, these are people.
But you could write me an email with contact with names or.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The owner.
Great.
I will.
Okay, because sometimes we have time to convince people to speak, because the first question is what's the meetup, what you're doing there, and so for those who don't know, you need to explain why people come here. So yeah, a little bit further, I would like to spread the ideas that we talked last year between Riga Biotech University Foundation with Riga University about one field which is growing out, so it's called bioengineering, which is not covered by the education system until now, as far as I know. It means that it's a combination of engineering and life science. I don't know in what proportions the program could be used, but this idea could start spreading out last year. So we're still looking for possibility to build curriculum around that. And as far as I know, Stradiņu University start think about how to bring this engineering inside medicine with some kind of
it depends what do you suspect here, because I have been listening for a metabolic engineering course in Denmark Technical University, and they are very specific about their field. They teach approaches how to calculate things. So mathematics around metabolic systems, then how to grow cells, so growing technologies and how does different cells grow, and then they offer some set of well-based experiments, so which is working and how do you measure yields and what comes out from the cell and how to purify and stuff like that. So very specific microbiology-based engineering course. So this is something how maybe University of Latvia would understand bioengineering.
Okay, but do we have at least something similar to that now? This bioengineering program at
right
University
now,
or others?
Right now in Faculty of Biology we have bioengineering specific course which is for third course in the bachelor program and I think first year of master's program for microbiology engineering.
Do we have some kind of superstar here, superstar professor who is able to talk in fluent English the topics we're talking here? Because we're looking for such kind of people appear and just talk about I don't know, this difficult things in easy ways. The same problem with I must say. So maybe you could suggest some most enthusiastic professor, I don't know, or charismatic.
It depends maybe on focus. We can get some guys focused on wet part, and we can get some guys who are focused on so-called soft part or calculation or computer stuff, because this bioengineering for
it's a combination of two.
Yes.
Information technology plus
wet laboratory work.
Yeah. In fact, if you want to talk about ecosystem, one of the things that we are, maybe Elu is building it out there, but what we're missing is a commercialization science park. If you look at Technopole in Tallinn, they're currently building 3,000 square meters of wet lab space that's available to people who are not academics, but are doing work bio projects.
Mhm.
We just don't have. That's a weakness.
Where is this?
Technical talent.
Italian.
Yeah.
It's suburbs.
Yeah, used to be parts of, I love the Skype building, going past the Skype building.
Oh yeah, it's like measure parks surrounding. Yeah, and so let's ask one more question. So we are some time ago start to build this MOOC or massive online course culture here in Latvia, and our idea was to develop local content for MOOC course, like Udacity style MOOC course, who would be interested for an international some kind of crowd. And we started looking for professors who could be so charismatic, who could be filmed on a videotape, looking great, and talking about very interesting, exciting things to the whole world, and not just copying some kind of course materials from MIT and other universities and translating them to Latvian. So if you know some kind of superstar professor here, just let me know, because we got until now what we accomplished in Riga Biotech University, we got signed letter from 4 universities, Latvijas University, RTU, Stradiņš, and Turīga University, about cooperation somehow. And one of the ways how to make is make some kind of course together, because we got a Udacity lady in our team who know how to make MOOCs, and only what we lack content and good professors here. And as far as we talk with all 3 universities, when we ask, so just give us at least one professor who could be able to be interested in that. Except Andris Almainis probably the ideas just there's no ideas who will be next. And we start to understand that. So we are very proud of our professors here on local level, that they're superstars and they got a research publication. But we would like to show up the world that we have a smart mind professor who could teach other worlds somehow unique what we have here. So I don't know anybody, at least until now, who could be able to do that. So if you know somebody, or think about it, so just let me know, so we could make it offer to that. Okay, and least part we have in every meetup we have.
You want only in biotech or any other topics?
Here?
Who can make some course?
Actually, we're looking for technology entrepreneurship. So under technology is everything, starting from, you see all those 8 groups, which is actually 3D printing and exponential some kind of
So
things.
IT.
In Linux group, in Ubuntu group, half year ago we were thinking about making our own online course.
Okay.
Even for children.
How it could be different from those who are already available from MIT, Stanford?
And we were talking about that also. So one had an idea to make it like a book, some kind of. But still, there is better these products already, like the Udemy's and all academics.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we are looking for. Those who could compete with content with those guys, and it's hard part, because okay, if we talking about MOOC course in Latvian, it's very narrow, let's say, not very scalable, and we're talking about how to learn to kids how to code in Latvian and Linux. It's a different story, but we are actually looking for the how to attract, let's say, attention of the whole international students, that here in Latvia is happening something unique for the world. It's the question how to let's say, Estonia is doing very well, that they position themselves as the IT nation for the world, because they have Skype, they have e-government and other stuff. So, and we got a lot of smart people in academical level. So just come around to Estonia, and we will teach you best IT skills in Europe. So they're very actively promoting this way, and with Latvia we have a huge problem. If you go to, for example, to talk with Stanford University, and they ask where are you from and what are you doing here in Latvia. So it's hardly to mention some notable startups or notable professors who could be wider known, or let's say at least found somewhere in Google. if you search from Google site, if you look for Wikipedia for Latvian scientists, there's a very small part of them, and try to compare with Estonia. So probably we have very smart people, but we can sell them out somehow and maybe promote them.
How large courses do you suspect here?
We're very excited about this Udacity format. I mean, we created, we use, very inspired from Udacity, and we using, try to use this open edX learning LMS, which is learning management system, which is open source, and this format is allow you to make very long courses, but usually it's 1 month, 10 modules, let's say, something like that, with different kind of assignments and videos. It's not only just filming lecture, it means there's a lot of assignments, and it's not just, MOOCs is about, MOOCs are not filming just lecture, it's like evaluation of movies, because at the very beginning movies was about filming the theater itself, and then movies evolved in different, some kind of
so
industry.
you suspect 2 or 5 European these credits?
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
it's pretty large.
If we talk about how it look like, probably it's most easy ways showed in our web page. So this is just first ideas how to do them. Those are course modules based on those MOOCs, which is actually should be filmed somehow. Or we got a deal with Udacity licensing now that we could use their content to teach our students. And this is modules with accredited credit points, and the idea to build those modules in different areas. What we're going now, we're going to expand this technology entrepreneurship in 5 different courses and make a deal with Riga Biotech University for next year to be included in this accredited
I
program.
have a like wild idea. How about money behind each particular course?
You mean?
You mean for professor or for the guy who develops this particular course?
I would say that normally that's the course development. One course module costs around $30,000. It means paying tuition for professors and filming and editing and other stuff. So what we tried the last year, we tried to make a proposal for Erasmus Plus, this program. Together with other universities, rise up some kind of 300,000 fund in order to build 10 course modules. We lost this competition because we didn't qualify because our partner was in the United States and we didn't mention them as a partner. So there's a different part of the story, but we're still looking for the way how we could make money out of it. And business model now would be so that we need to make those courses very lean startup mode. It means we need to develop this course without any funding, and then selling this course usage in existing programs and be paid by students, which is actually money goes for the existing universities for this course to us. For the professors who is actually teaching those courses. The business model. It seems after 2 years struggling about this existing system, how to make money out of it, and not able to raise donations for this new structure, we decided this is the most convenient way how to start. And after that, our idea is to, after making those courses, combine them in certificates, which is actually very popular education now in the United States. It's not called academic education, it's called nano degree, for example, for Udacity. And it's in industry acknowledges some kind of course certificate, which is actually acknowledged by industry and paid by students. And then only then we go to the accredited programs like bachelor and master, because it's take a lot of effort and time to be accredited in that. Yeah. So if you know some superstar professors in those 3-4 universities leading, just let me know, because it also was a tough question for Tartu and Turku universities, which actually partnering with us with Erasmus deal for grant for building the MOOCs. We asked them the same question. So could we show us at least one professor from your university who could be interesting for the whole world, not for region, not for your country, but who can beat the Stanford guys, let's say. And this is a tough
But
question.
actually, when you go back to those Stanford courses, I have listened for couples or watched a couple of those courses. I wouldn't say that these guys are like superstars.
I agree, probably, but the indication is how many users, let's say reviews, because students are placing reviews or grading those courses, and you could see that probably the course from unknown Latvian university could be graded higher than Stanford University in some cases if content really is different or greater. So it's a challenge. You could prove why you are better than a Stanford professor, but yeah, we could chase that and try to.
I know one person who is currently Minister of Health.
Yeah.
But he is actually, I had a company with him, and I was doing the pharmaceutical business with him since 90s,
Okay.
and he is biochemist in Moscow. So he recently was speaking in Academy of Sciences also when there was the grant of medal to the Regina Zhuk from Israel, who actually was inventor of Torafood, the drug which brought actually the gold, no, the real currency in Soviet times. And I know Zhuk because she invited me, and I never was in. She's already will be 80, and Valeric was there also. He said, "Oh, I also was in the beginning in this, but then I went to business." But he's really desperate. And then they discussed about this issue when this Latvian scientists, they worked on this oncology drug, and now they have zero benefit of it. And he said, yes, the pity, we have to somehow find a way. And he is in a way crazy person, but very fluent in German. So he actually could be such a desperate speaker in some course at some stage.
We just need to find out the topic of
Exactly,
what-
and
what they do.
he's
Sells his story to Germany.
no, starting from Germany, and that's a big market. And the big thing, because he's not, and he is now doing a deer farming, and he is now will implant embryos in this type of things, not just farming in a forest. He has a lab.
Okay.
He will have a lab, bio lab there, and so in a case.
Going on here in Latvia.
And the biggest farm actually in Europe, deer farm, the biggest. And he has a great ideas. Now he is occupied with this ministry because
Yeah.
because he has this craziness, and that's why I see him, and I could channel in one stage if it comes, and even
Okay.
invite it. If this grows, if this meetup grows, then at one stage he could be invited here and then
Speakers.
not only speak here, but really to speak in German language. Desperate, nice lecture in German language in this.
Okay. So yeah, we need to go further.
Sounds crazy when you hear him on TV about all the patient stories and whatever. Now all the people attack him as a minister, but he's a scientist in a background.
Okay. So this is next session for every meetup, and here I need to put some startup, and only what I know at least. I don't know if those guys fitting in this particular part. So Andrei Strots just a little bit. I asked him to talk here today and appear here, but he's feeling that he's not in biotechnology field because medical software is actually a little bit distant. Probably next time we will put them in member list and invited list. Yeah, for those who don't know, this platform, Bluebridge is very good funded. The company from Imprimatur in 2 stages, I think. They got this follow-ups around from second grade. And this is actually a product that they're trying to sell not only in Europe, but in the United States, as far as I know. So, a couple of more sponsors. So, Riga University is dealing with technology and international education. Microsoft is our partner. So, if you got a spot, by the way, if you got a startup as a company, you could get very lot of benefits from Microsoft by applying to this Spark program. At least all kind of licenses. You get free of charge licenses of practically all Microsoft products, and got virtual server Microsoft Azure, approximately one instance, $120 per month free of charge. So for startups, sometimes it's very, very valuable. So if you would like to be to get those benefits, just bring me a mail and just generate an invite for you, and this is going through the Microsoft section, and that's it. We've got yeah, and what we're currently is dealing with helping with funding to happen in those all kind of meetups with all kind of food and organizational issues. So here we have first speaker. So first and only for today. So it's not your time. So a little bit out of schedule, but at least we will have another speaker than me today.
I'll sit down too.
Yeah, sure.
So, as you can see, we also receive sponsorship assistance from LGA. And we are an NGO down in the lower right, we're called Enixis, and we were formed actually August of last year formally. We're part of a group that's called Accelerates Life. Accelerates Life includes Accelerates, which is a 7-year-old accelerator in business development and science park and regional incubator group in Denmark. They've been doing that for 7 years, and they also work a lot with life sciences companies. And all of the people that we work with at Accelerates, we have one guy who's a PhD in molecular biology, but he has an investor background. He worked in the business side, and then he also opened and closed 2 funds. We have people who have been involved in the consumer side, consumer product side, but in more in the medical side, and a lot of people from finance as well. And my partner Greg Mathers, a couple of you know, Greg and I have been doing this for 2 years now. Greg comes from the organizational side. I come from kind of a science side and a very big interest in entrepreneurs. Okay, this is something that I stole from a MOOC course that I took, which is called, it's an entrepreneurship course from MIT, and the thing I like about the course is how well structured it is. And the idea is a lot of people who come to us, who talk to us, say, they listen to us really politely and they say, it's a really good idea, I'll start that later. And what they try and do is they try and have 14 or 15 balls in the air at the same time regarding their product. They tend to be so defocused that they're always disappointed because they never find what they're looking for. So this is the result. And what we try and do is to create a very structured process that companies and projects can go through to discover what their market is for the problem that they're trying to solve. And this course is called Entrepreneurship, and the guy who leads it is called Bill Aulett, and Bill Aulett has a book called Disciplined Entrepreneurship, and it's a really good book. Okay, this is really small, and I apologize for this. I stole this from a presentation that we had to create for a new financing idea that we have. So what we're doing right now, one of the things that we're involved in is creating a crowd lending platform specifically for life sciences. And there are a bunch of problems that it's really meant to overcome. So the first thing is that we were talking about is that people, even in the investor side, tend to invest in an idea rather than a team. And as often as we've heard it from the investors that we've dealt with, we'd rather invest in a good team than a good idea. They always go for the idea. They evaluate the living hell out of the idea and don't spend much time evaluating the team. And we've seen that over and over again. A lot of the life sciences companies, except in the really, really high-level genetics stuff, it just does not meet the return on investment that venture capital people are typically looking for. You're not going to see a 50x return. You're just not going to. or it's going to take a really long time. So we're way out there. It takes a long time to develop these companies, and that what we're trying to do is create a system and a process where that time can be compressed by working on the business as well as the technology simultaneously, and also to acknowledge that so the investors who come into it with their eyes wide open. We know that there's a group of companies out there that are potentially going to grow, but they don't have the sort of DNA to become hockey stick growth, right? And so we know that the tools that are typically used, which are equity investments largely, are just not appropriate. So what we're looking for is either a crowd lending platform or a mixed quasi-equity, so convertible loans, things like this. And then we also understand that what we've come to understand is that over 6 or 7 years is that in the accelerated processes is that you have scientists who go through this process with one idea, that idea fails, they loop back and they become more likely to become successful. There's research out of MIT and other places that says your first venture is going to be a failure, your second venture you have a 50-50 chance, but by the time you get your third venture, it sounds really bad when you're looking at your first venture, but it's just, the chances of that happening become that much greater. But the thing is that, again, with the correct kind of education and process, you can compress that a lot. And one thing that we really like about the accelerated processes is that they measure the living hell out of everything that they do. And so they know, for example, I was talking to the CEO, and he was telling me that they had a question. So what they have is, in this process for them, they start with a group of companies, and then at the end of one component, say the first 6 months, they have pitching, and companies can get equity investment, so big chunks of money. And then they, of course, release that in portion tranches. And they had a rule that the company had to meet 80% of its milestones in order to receive the next tranche. But sometimes it turned out that people, the advisors, the coaches, were saying, you know what, my gut tells me that we really should release the next tranche. And it turned out that in 95% of the time, the gut was wrong. You gotta go with the number. And so they understand now much stronger, about how to deal with these things. Okay, and then we understand too, and again, that because of how specific these things can be, that you have to create a management team around these ideas that really understand the ideas. And we also understand, and especially with what Greg does with his Adiza stuff, is that the management processes, because these are long-term developments, that these management processes are this really strange mix of startup and corporate earlier than they are in regular companies. So this is just a longer way of saying those same things, and we understand too is that what we've come to understand is that there's this real gap. I mean, down here you have Friends, Fools, and Family, then you have Altum in Latvia, and then we're missing this part. And it was partially filled for a little while by this pre-seed fund that Imprimatur was running, but it was only partially filled. And what we're trying to do is develop this crowdfunding platform that would bridge that gap by having it be enough money. So 100K rather than 50K, for example. This is where we are. Right now we have Estonia, Latvia, northern parts of Germany, Denmark, and we actually have started to get some partners in Poland. We have very strong partners in Finland and Sweden. We have Karolinska as a sort of cooperating partner as well. And this big is where we are right now, here, and then in 2015 we were already here in Karolinska as well. Norway is...
And those brand names.
Okay, Accelerace is our Danish partner. Technopole, of course, is Estonia, that's us.
It's
And-
Stockholm. KISP?
Pardon?
KISP or Karolinska Hospital?
Karolinska Institute.
Karolinska Institute,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Because we've been doing this for 2 years and we've only had one round so far, we are looking at what Accelerates itself in Denmark has in terms of their own performance. So over 6 years, they worked with 232 companies, 62 of which were in life sciences. If you look at survival rate, and they define survival rate as actually not only being alive and creating a balance every year, but actually earning money, having revenue. So 94% plus minus in life sciences. 75% of those companies raise capital. And when we say raise capital, that's defined as being external capital. And that's how much they've raised, and that's actually euros. We had a conversation. They refer to things in DKKs, and it's just a difficult currency. And that they have a significant. You can see too, by the way, that the increase is higher over here, but the absolute increase is smaller.
What is the amount of what investing in acceleration startups?
Accelerates at the very beginning. Actually this is shifting, and that's what our project is about. Right now what they do is every company that comes in is given the option to take a loan. The loan is 90K. 20K stays with the accelerator to pay for it, and then they have 70,000 euros. At the end of 6 months, then there's another pitching session. Well, yeah, and then they can get a 250,000 euro equity investment. And then companies can stay within the process if they're chosen, or they choose to be within. And then they have these minimum rounds of around 500,000 euros.
But the investor is some investor, or this accelerator?
Accelerated by itself.
Huh?
Accelerated by itself.
Well,
So the accelerator is like making a lot of companies around them.
the accelerator creates, the accelerator
All
accelerates Invest itself. They manage 4 funds currently, and then these are all EU funds, so they all have to have co-investment. They're all have to be syndicated. So syndication is usually between 20 and 30%, as high as 50% for syndication. These are some success cases from Denmark. And you can see that this is a range of stuff. So quality of care for incontinent elderly. I mean, you might as well call it a new version of adult diapers. This was an interesting one. It was a device to increase how accurately hip replacements, the replacement joints are placed. And these are not usually these are re-replacements. So they're the second hips. This is actually a company from Estonia called Cognos. It's a cloud-based platform for rehabilitation of people having strokes. And they went on from our accelerator, then they went to an accelerator in the United States where they raised €1.5 million, or dollars rather, something like that. We focus, this is where we define it for ourselves. So we have health and rehabilitation, device, tools, and tests, which includes, for us, things like our bone scanner, things like that. Wellness and fitness, and wellness for us has included in the past things like natural products. We have currently, sort of in our pipeline, we have 2 fitness platforms, we have 2 diet platforms, and interesting things like this. IT, we're working right now in Latvia with a company that is creating, what do we call it, the app store for hospitals. So what they're doing is they're using Oracle, and what they've done is they've created a way to make highly specific modules for specific needs within hospitals. So for example, I'm friends with some people who work at the women's hospital, and they're working now with that hospital to create modules that are very specific to the flow of patient treatment with delivery, with gynecology problems, with neonatal care, things like that. So really specific things that meet their needs. Health and rehabilitation. So we have 2 focuses.
Months,
Yeah.
because I have 5. Together with my book, I have 5 these application lines. Too much, but some may work. So, so I may discuss.
Sure. Yeah, in December, this is December, the very beginning of January, what we're going to do is we're going to have a video conference and give people the opportunity to pitch to the people that we're dealing with. And what we've agreed to do is in this round of Accelerates for the Latvian companies, that each company that sort of meets basic criteria will be accepted, and then we'll create a sort of individual program for those companies. So some of it will be going to Copenhagen, some will be Tallinn and Riga, and so we're going to be creating a little bit more tailored.
So you're applying for the batches, in batches for the next round of companies. It means you can 6 month batch and announcement that we are issuing the plan.
Yeah, we're a little bit less formal than that right now because we haven't straightened out a relationship with, we haven't created a company that we want to be actually running this. So we're a little bit less formal. So when the companies come to us and we'll say, please come and pitch, we're not going to make a big announcement that we're doing this.
Okay. So, but this is a kind of deadline of rolling.
But what it really means too is that because the Danes are sticking with us, anybody, for example, when Raymond comes to us in February or March and says, I'm really interested in this, we'll say, okay, well, let's sit down and make a Skype conference with a guy in Denmark who really knows this stuff, and then we'll create a plan, and then in the next round, we'll think about bringing you in for a full.
But you don't know times for it.
Well, I know that, well, in 2015, I know for sure that we will have a round that will start in July. Okay, but that will be formally announced.
Okay, but how much companies you accepted for this round is kind of
We can take in up to 4 companies.
from Latvia or together?
Not Latvia.
So you have some limit for each country, or
Well, yeah, roughly speaking. I mean, if we can bring 5 really good companies, they're not going to say no.
okay.
And right now, the funding for this, it's Altum, and then also for the second round of funding is Accelerates Movements.
And what are criteria for the startups to be applied in this program? So is there some kind of
The criteria is mainly around team. I mean, you have to have a team that's more than one person, for example. There has to be a couple of people who are engaged in this.
at which level the startups could be, or teams
They
that
can be,
validated product or prototyping or prototyped already, or
it can be even pre-prototype. I mean, this is the problem is here is that okay, it depends on what the technology is. I mean, for example, our ultrasound guys, they need to create a prototype. But we know well enough that the technology does what they say it can do. So we'll take them pre-prototype, and then we're going to be working on proof of concept and proof of business simultaneously, because I mean, there's going to be 3 threads going on here. So I mean, it's really difficult to answer that question, because it depends on the technology, it depends on how long the development cycle could be.
so in
What do you mean by development cycle?
What I mean is that especially depending on the certifications that are needed, it can be the time to market.
So from my idea or a system which roughly works in laboratory up to something you can buy.
Yeah. Or something that not only can you buy, but it's really physically possible for somebody to buy.
Okay, so production and manufacturing.
Yeah. That's fine.
So practically, if Latvian company is accepted in July, for example, for the next round, so what they really practically should do, or what they get?
What they can practically do, and we'll be making an announcement about that in March more formally, is they practically do is there will be a form on the Accelerates Life website to fill out. And then what they would also have to do with the current funding is they would then come and talk to us, and you would then have them sort of go past Altum to see how Altum feels about it, but Altum has ultimately agreed that if they're accepted, they get the loan. So, we have that.
So they got really cash in bank account.
Yep, they get cash in the bank account, of which part of it stays with the accelerator to make it sustainable, and part of it becomes their own for what they need.
Okay. And from acceleration practical point of view, they got some kind of coaches or office space, or what included in that, or is it?
Office space. I'd like to say yeah, because we will, but I'm not going to lie and say that we have it right now.
In Latvia.
Right.
It's not just thinking
But if
maybe
somebody
they need to move
Oh,
to
they could.
Denmark or so.
They could. Yeah. In fact, the Danes would be very happy to have that happen. They run 2 science parks.
Quite big.
But so what they would get practically, they get the local coaches who are like knackers, people who make sure that things are staying on track. Then they get assigned 2 international kind of coaches, and those 2 people are the ones who are going to come to the business labs, especially, which is the local coach, 2 business mentors, and then somebody from Accelerate, so 4 to 5 people. And so then practically they get those, and then they get, similar to what we're talking about with Microsoft, there's actually a lot of access to entrepreneurial platforms to keep things going. So finance packages, et cetera, et cetera. And so business labs, all of the camps, specific mentors and coaches, and then as frequently as we can bringing people in front of investors.
So, but at the very initial stage, the startups should not be ready to submit really business plans and cash flow projections and other stuff. So they just need to pitch idea and think. Okay, it's quite. Let's say pre-seed stage or pre-product.
In Denmark, they're usually a little bit later stage. But they understand in Latvia that we don't have a lot of pipeline for that, so we're working with the earlier stage.
Do you feel the same problem as pipeline here?
Yep.
So you're feeling how we could improve that? Where those startups ideas could come from?
Where could they come from? Number one, they come from the same place as the Skype push in Estonia. You have to have some successes.
You're talking about Estonia, Latvia?
No, what I mean is it's analogous. That
Okay.
In Latvia, if we have a few successes, then people start to see it as possible.
Okay.
And then it starts to happen more.
Role model, let's say. We need some.
But the other thing is that when we talk to scientists, they say we need money, and then we send them to, Altum or Imprimatur or FlyCap or XCap and all this, and they say, huh? Because they don't. It's difficult because they don't understand what's
They're too early.
But the thing is that we, in the financing that we're structuring, that number one, they're the people who know how to evaluate the technologies, and number two, they're can evaluate the technologies, but also they're willing to work with very early stage things. And then also, I'm sorry, I'm going to be blunt, okay? They're not lying. Because, if you look at what FlyCap and XCap, what's the other one called?
Okay.
But in any case,
Zegai.
Yeah. That their presentations, when I first saw their presentations, they all promised seed. How many seed rounds have they actually funded?
Not a lot, because last times it was the most later stage, like mezzanine funding and other stuff.
But they promised it, but they never delivered it. So what we know is that we have to deliver what we promise. And if we promise seed and pre-seed, that's what we're going to deliver. And that's what they do in Denmark. And so where we are formally is we have Enixis, which is their NGO, which did the first round. We have a set of statutes that are being written by a local lawyer to make a company in Latvia called Accelerates Latvia. That company will be majority owned by Accelerates Denmark, and then Craig and I, or not Craig and I, but Enixis will be a minority owner. So that company will be the vehicle.
Okay. Okay, got it. So now Nexus is an NGO which is operating, let's say, like promoting this partnering and promoting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing that an NGO can do things that companies can.
Right. Okay, maybe other guys have some questions? Because I will talk too much today.
But I think I gave a card to everybody. I mean, you're all more than welcome to just call. I'm at Riga Business School most of the time. I'm north, so we're at school is yellow. So you're more than welcome to come over.
Business schools?
No, not Stockholm School.
Yes.
RTU. We're part of RTU.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So I'll just have a couple of concluding slides. So this is a template of every meetup. We need to have some kind of startup pitch here because not just talking about innovation, but really have some kind of project to push people to speak. So today we don't have any startup. So I hope at least for next time we have at least one report. From probably your some kind of area of knowledge, because we need to talk to people to learn public speaking, skills to presenting. This is just in our case how to present yourself in front of the industry specialists. We don't have a lot of investors here. Although we have next time we need to invite them because this is part of the program that Meetups should be covered by investors' presence here. So I don't know if they're willing to come. As you mentioned, those guys from your funds you mentioned, so probably they're not very interested in such kind of things. But okay. By the way, you are also invested. In this case, indirectly or directly.
But you could probably get Giannis from Premature to come. He's usually interested in.
Yeah, we could invite everybody. So let's see who will come. But at least it's a nice possibility for investors also to be very close to industry and be in very early stage of this deal flow. Not waiting just when startups came around knocking on their doors, but see this food chain and levels. This is the announcement part. So with quite small crowd, is there any announcements for today from any or not yet? Because we already talked to big direction all so, but usually there's a part that the larger crowd, so everybody's come out and say what they would like to say, service offers, event announcements, other projects and topics and so forth. So, in summary, we already discussed all kinds of those topics. Mm-hmm. So what I really would like to meet from you, everybody, almost everybody from you got their ideas about who could be invited next time and who could be contacted for speaking. Could I ask you just bring me probably early next week those emails, because from my experience, if I wait longer, people just forget it and so on. So just bring. If I not forget, I will drop you a reminder mail.
No, that's very nice. I think it will work through this Meetup platform, right? If you write something as a founder of this Meetup, then you can inform us, since we are the members of this Meetup, right?
But usually you can't. Probably it's not the best way how to contact me because just could show you how my email folder looking at. From you have here Meetups. Meetup folder is 207 mails already, so it's not really a convenient way for me to get touch in that. So it's not possible to answer everything that's going on. So just drop me. You could drop me a mail directly in Gmail.com, for example, or hht.edu.lv. Yeah, so it's most responsive way. And but I'm pleasantly surprised that I heard that there's a lot of things are going on here in Latvia, so and, I was a little bit afraid that there's nothing happening, but it seems that there's this good signs to start build something, so that's why not build it together. So
Sure.
I could ask. It's also from the meetup point of view. I'm not willing to run this meetup all my life long. So probably if I could find people, some co-contributor or co-organizer who could be in charge of this meetup, I could share the ownership of this meetup group and step down as far as I could see that it's somebody could take care of this meetup group. So